Everyone, I'm Ron Gerber, CEO of AngelBeat. I love doing these fireside chats. We've got Krishna, the COO and co-founder of Komprise, who just delivered a fantastic presentation at our AngelBeat data seminar. Krishna, maybe to start, could you describe a little bit of your background and what led you to found Komprise?
Absolutely, Ron. So myself and my two co-founders, we all have known each other for over 25 years.
Okay.
We did our master's and PhD at the University of Illinois in Urbana-Champaign. Our background is distributed computing. Then we worked in the Valley for a long time. I was at Sun for over 14 years. My co-founders were at HPE and IBM. Then we came together to build two startups before Komprise. And basically what drew us to the startup world is that we saw so many problems with data that could be managed better through a scale out architectures. And that's what led us to create our first and our second company. And those two companies got acquired. Our second company was acquired by Citrix. And after that acquisition, we were trying to decide what to do next. And many of our customers from our last two companies told us that they're having this massive problem with unstructured data, they're drowning in data, and that's what led us to create Komprise.
Interesting. So you're going to help provide them with, let's say, a technical life preserver, so to speak.
Exactly. Basically what was happening is, just like you probably do with your clothes, as you buy more clothes, you're trying to find closets to stuff it into. I mean, that's what's happening with data, right? Data is just piling up in different places and you're just trying to keep up and you're just trying to find cheaper, better storage all the time to put the data in. But the real kind of problem is not just the storage of data. Over 70% of the cost of data is in the active management of it. Because you can't just keep the data somewhere. Yeah. You have to back it up. You have to keep a disaster recovery copies of it. Then you have to protect it from ransomware. And the question is, do you need to give the same premium treatment to all data? Or can you, right size the way you do these things, not just the storage, but the backup and the DR and everything else based on the value of the data? And then kind of the eternal question is, how do you monetize all this? If you're keeping data around for 25, 30, 40 years, and you never touch it after the first 6 months, why are you lugging all this data around, right? So those are the problems that we help our customers solve.
Now, the other thing I hear, and I may not get the exact numbers correct, is that in the last 3 years, the amount of data that's been generated is almost equivalent to the amount of generated since the start of time. I mean, yeah. It's something like that. So when you've got this exponential growth of data, you've got so much of an interest in analyzing data, but I think that the challenge or the opportunity that Komprise offers is helping organizations keep track of all that data, analyze it, and it's not as simple as, well, don't use expensive tier 1 storage, put it on less expensive tape. That's more of a tactical decision, pretty straightforward. You're addressing a more complicated issue, which is, I've got all this data, regardless of where it's stored, I don't really know how to integrate videos, images, text, structured, unstructured, file storage. I mean, it's not just the volume of data, it's the exponential growth in the types of data too, that exponentially increases the complexity of understanding it. And isn't that a key thing that you help organizations solve?
Yes, I mean, so one thing that has been happening over time is, people want data to be in its native form. And one of the most appealing things about data lakes or just object storage for that matter is you can throw all kinds of data in there. You can put a video file in there, an audio file in there, genomics file, text file, whatever you want. And so that all sounds good, but then that lake becomes a swamp, right? How do you search and find something you want in it? How do you actually, there's all this great analytics applications. How do you pull the right data into it? And data has gravity. Data is very heavy. Moving 100 terabytes of data is going to take some time, right? And so you don't want to willy-nilly try to copy your data lake everywhere. That's not sustainable. So how can you easily search and find the right data when this data has no common structure to it? That's another problem we saw. We give you a Google search-like interface across all your object stores, across all your cloud, S3 buckets, your blob buckets, across your file stores, because we index everything. And then you can search it all from one place. And then you can ask us to move it. Sorry, Ron, I'm talking too fast.
No, I think I somewhat understand it. So if you're looking at your data storage platform, which could be on-prem, it could be in the cloud, it could be on GCP, AWS, Azure, it could be maybe you've got operations in China where you have to then deal with data stored in, let's say, Alibaba or Tencent. I mean, the complexities of data are incredibly hard, but you can simplify that. So if people and organizations are grappling with, well, do I switch to GCP? Do I use S3? These are all very strategic decisions. The great thing, and you could confirm this with Komprise, whatever you want to do, it's fine. You can operate exactly the same way because we'll be one layer above that and still help you work exactly the same.
Yes, yes. We give you a single consistent way to look at all your data, understand all your costs, optimize placement of data, and optimize your backup and DR of data, but we don't get in the way. So the only difference with what you said and how I would say it is, we give you a consistent management pane for all the data, but we don't interfere with native access to the data from anywhere. So in any platform, you can go directly to your data. You don't have to go through us. And we believe that's really important. And that's where, frankly, a lot of our patents are, because to do all this by sitting in front of the data is relatively easy to do, but it's very intrusive.
Gone. Okay. So again, organizations and users are very protective of their data. And so that probably gives your customers a great deal of comfort saying, we're not going to be the gatekeeper. Do whatever you do. But when you have new things you have to think about, we'll make it a lot easier for you.
Exactly. And the other reason it's important not to be a gatekeeper is not just the control of data, but it's also being able to use all the services in each platform. I mean, look at all the speakers on your presentation today. I mean, there were so many AI services, natural language services, BigQuery services, and so many things that each of the clouds said that they have added, right? If you don't have native access to your data, you cannot avail of those new services. Yeah.
So one thing you mentioned when we spoke previously was about Komprise's role with Pfizer. And obviously Pfizer, given its tremendous success in developing vaccines, it's a multi-bazillion-dollar corporation with worldwide operations. They're constantly generating data, trying to evaluate the results of new drugs, trying to do all their genetic or molecular modeling to figure out what makes sense. Maybe you could provide some insights from Pfizer's perspective on why and how they use Komprise to really help their data-oriented solutions.
Absolutely, Ron. Pfizer, like most other companies out there today, I mean, they're doing life-saving work, but that work relies on data. And most of that data is what we would today call unstructured data, because it's like genomics files, imaging files, trial documentation, those kinds of things. And all this data, Pfizer scientists generate over 10 terabytes of data every day. That's like a few billion photos a day, right? And how can they manage the cost of all this data? How can they become cloud first without changing the applications the scientists are using, without making the scientists go and look for their data somewhere else? That's the first problem we solved for them. So our software analyzed data across all their data centers, showed them that 66% of their data nobody was using in a year or more. We, through a policy that they set, we continuously started tiering that data into Amazon S3 buckets. but it looked like a local file still because of the way we moved the data, and their scientists saw no difference, so they were happy. So that's the first thing. It was very immediate. They saved over $2.5 million in the first year alone. But what we did is, as Komprise moves the data, it indexes everything. And that's kind of where the bigger value is, to be honest, because now they're able to search and find anything easily. I mean, we all know it's so hard to find anything, even in your own computer. You have to, kind of go through folders and look for things. And imagine in an organization, there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of buckets. Every group is creating different directories and shares. Everybody has different permissions to different things. And to get a unified view across everything is very hard. And Komprise gives you that unified view. Of course, you can only see what you're allowed to see, but you get one way to search, kind of like what Google did for the internet. Imagine browsing the internet without Google, right?
Yeah. So if I look at that from a different perspective, and I'm the head of data analytics at some company, and I say, oh, this is great stuff, I want to use Komprise. Does this thinking ever take place, which is, wow, this is great, I can justify Komprise tactically because I'm going to save X millions of dollars or X billions of dollars, whatever the number is, on just my storage by understanding how the bits and bytes are being used, where that data can be repositioned, be it on tape, be it on lower cost, on-prem storage, and in certain instances, maybe it needs to be in high-priced on-prem primary storage, whatever the case may be. So then I can go to my CFO and say, here's my project. You need to sign and make sure I get all these approvals to using Komprise because it's going to save money. Then you can have a similar discussion with the CEO, the VP of strategy, the VP of marketing, and say, isn't this great? The CFO is now on board just on the cost standpoint. We've talked previously about why you need Komprise for the strategic analytical benefits that are a little bit more intangible to justify when they want to get a PO approved for the Komprise licensing. And it seems like that's a very relevant dynamic in these organizations, is that we're going to save you money. And oh, by the way, everyone's grappling with, how do I justify getting analytics tools approved? Because again, it's a little bit amorphous kind of approval. What a great value proposition where the VP of strategy and sales and marketing gets the tools they want that will generate more long-term results, and the CFO is backing it based on short-term immediate cost savings.
Yeah, so you put it very well, Ron. I mean, our customers want to make money, and saving money is like the first step to getting it in. And then their users like it because they can create better business outcomes, right? And that's one thing Pfizer said. Not only were they able to reverse 20 years of rising storage costs by using us, their scientists actually like the solution a lot because they're able to find things and do new things with their data that they weren't able to do before. They had to always go to some data engineering team and file a request, and 5 people would search for data and find it for them. They don't have to do any of that anymore. Yeah.
And speaking as someone who is taking both Pfizer vaccinations and the Pfizer booster, and we're a Pfizer house in our household, but in all seriousness, I mean, tools like what Komprise has are incredibly powerful because we all know the importance. And again, I'll play up the Pfizer scenario. All of the approvals are all based on the data and compiling data accurately and knowing what data to collect and how do you structure that data, how do you analyze it so you can present compelling rationale to the FDA, to the CDC, saying across male, female, different races, different age groups, whatever the scenario is, they need to see all that data, which can be a little hard to seamlessly and easily present if you don't have a very flexible data governance, data management platform. And I'm sure that the folks at Pfizer have utilized Komprise to get those approvals done and that new data, like what just happened. I mean, just today, they got the Pfizer booster approved for 16 and 17-year-olds. I specifically read that because my son is 16. And so it's very important because obviously COVID has accelerated the need for rapid data analysis, but I think it's great that Komprise in some maybe not so small way help get vaccines and booster shots out there for the masses. So it's great.
Yeah, I think that's the gratifying thing, I think, for a lot of us, right? Because sometimes the problems we solve are a little bit behind the scenes, but they have tangible impact.
Absolutely. So what are some of the exciting things you've got planned for 2022?
A lot of our customers are looking really for ways to accelerate leveraging data for machine learning. That's, I think, going to be the really big trend because a lot of data analytics has focused on structured queries of structured data. And, that's very important. But, everybody's realizing that more automation is the key to reducing costs and improving speed of outcomes. And so to teach bots to do things means you need unstructured data. So how do you feed that unstructured data in? This is what we are working on with all our life sciences customers, our customers in autonomous driving, even in manufacturing, all these different verticals. Police, I mean, we're working on digital forensics, machine learning for digital forensics. How do you feed digital forensics with the right kind of data? So I think you're going to see tremendous growth in unstructured data analytics for machine learning.
We look forward to that becoming a subject for your next talk at AngelBeat. And I think it also plays in to your strategy of making sure that customers have direct access to all of the various ML, AI tools that are all slightly different across AWS, across Azure, across GCP, or even IBM Watson. I mean, there are a number of major ML platforms out there. And I think that's really the value of your approach, is that you don't have to go through Komprise as the gatekeeper, go directly to these applications, structured it as you like, and then rely on Komprise as a higher level index to make everything work seamlessly.
Yeah, very well said, Ron. Yeah.
Good. Well, excellent. Well, I've enjoyed speaking with you. Love doing these little fireside chat video blog interviews. It helps me become more knowledgeable in structuring events, keeps my pulse on the innovative, fast-growing companies, and I really appreciate your time, Krishna.
Thank you very much, Ron.
All right. Thank you very much. Bye-bye now.
All right.